Hello, today I am hereby performing the demonstration of liquid penetrant testing, which is one of the form of non-destructive testing. Generally, the mechanical properties have been examined with different mechanical testing methods. One of them is non-destructive testing, which in this we doesn't destruct any kind of samples. So it is called non-destructive testing. This non-destructive testing, we are having the different kinds of testing, like liquid penetrant testing, or magnetic particle testing, radiographic testing, ultrasonic testing. Hereby I have selected the liquid penetrant testing, which is in the short form of LPT. This LPT will be involved when the other entity test which cannot be explained. So that is this advantage of having the liquid penetrant testing. In this liquid penetrant testing, we having the three important things. That is, first one is called a remover, then we having the penetrant, then we having the developer. So these are the three important things which is going to explain the what are the defects that have been incorporated in the welding samples or maybe the industrial samples. Okay, that is what called the liquid penetrant testing. Okay, the first stage of liquid penetrant testing is about the applying the remover. The purpose of applying the remover is to remove the dust particles present in the welded samples. Why? Because the samples will be involved in the industry purposes. In industry, we having the number of dust that like paints, grease. Okay, so that we have to remove all the dust particles. Otherwise, what will happen? The dust particles will also named as the defect. So the first process is called the removing process. For that, I have taken the remover. For the remover, I have to apply this remover in the cloth, which is very fine cloth. Why? Because some of the dust particles present in the cloth may also get into the surface. So that I have applying the remover in the cloth. Similar to that, I have applied in the welded sample as well. So I am just removing all the dust particles present in the samples. So we have to very clearly in the samples. Okay, after cleaning that, we have to maintain for the 1 minute period time. Why? Because the cleaner will be settled into the work samples. So we will wait for 1 minute. Okay, the second stage of liquid penetrant is called applying the penetrant. After applying the remover, we have cleaned all the dust particles. Then we have to apply the penetrant, which is will be settled into the surface of the welded sample. So I have taken the penetrant, so that I am applying the penetrant in the welded sample. So just one form of wave is required. We no need to go for a number of times. Why? Because the number of layer will form undefined particles. So we have to wait for a minimum of 8 to 10 minutes. The time period is called dwell time. So the first stage of LPT is called removing process. The stage is 1. So we are having this as a stage 1. The stage 1 is called removing dust particles. So removing process. In the removing process, what will happen is the dust particles which is present in the welded sample will be clean surface. So that we have to wait for a minute. So that what will happen? The remover will be get into the particles of present in the welded sample. So that it will be getting cleaned. So the process first stage is called removing stage. So the second stage of liquid penetrant test is called that is applying the penetrant. The stage 2 is applying the penetrant. So the purpose of applying the penetrant means the penetrant will be get into the cracks or maybe the cracks or maybe porous surface. What will happen is the penetrant will get into the surface and it will get settled. Okay. So that after applying the penetrant, we have to wait for a minimum of 8 to 10 minutes. For why? Because so that the penetrant will be get into the deeply. Okay. So that we can observe all the surface cracks present in the welded sample. The time period for maintaining the applying penetrant is about the 8 to 10 minutes. The period is called dwell time. So the third stage of LPT is about the also called the removing process. The purpose of this stage is to remove the applied penetrant. Okay, removing of penetrant. In this stage, what will happen is we will remove all the penetrant which is applied in the welded sample. Okay, so after the completion of dwell time, we have to remove the penetrant which is we have applied on the welded sample. So now the dwell time period is over, that is 8 to 10 months is over. So now we are going to clean the penetrant from the welded sample. So that I have taken the cloth which is to about to remove the penetrant which we have applied. We have to clean all the penetrants. So it should not have any kind of penetrants in the welded sample. So I am removing all the all the penetrants which I have applied on the welded sample. The penetrant will be settled only on the cracks, so it will not be on the surface of the welded sample. So I have removed all the penetrants. So now I have removed all the penetrants. After that, as already told, I have to apply another remover for removing more amount of penetrant. So I am just applying the remover, so that I can remove all the penetrants. Okay, so now the stage 4 is completed. So that we have to wait for a minute for removing the remover. Final stage of LPT is about applying the developer. The purpose of applying the developer is to, why? Because we have already applied the penetrant. When we apply the developer on the surface of welded sample, the penetrant will be getting upon the surface due to the capillary action which will be taken in the welded sample. So I am applying the developer on the surface of the welded sample. So I am applying like this. So we have to wait for a minimum of 8 to 10 minutes for the developer making the capillary action on the penetrant. So we have to wait for 8 to 10 minutes. The time period is also called the dwell time period. So the fourth stage of LPT is about the applying the developer. Stage 4 is applying developer. So in the developer stage, what will happen is we will apply the developer on the surface of the welded sample. Due to the capillary action on the welded sample, the penetrant which is already present in the welded sample will be get out of the surface. So from this we can observe what are the cracks that can be observed in the or presented in the welded sample. We can examine and we can evaluate the number of cracks or what kind of defects that is present in the welded sample. We can find out that. So the fourth stage and the final stage of LPT is about applying the developer. So now the dwell period for the developer is completed. So we have taken the sample for observing the cracks. So I am taking the samples in my hand. What is we can observe what kind of cracks that have been presented in the welded sample. We can see there is a crack which is presented on the weld bead. Okay, this crack is called a crater crack. That is crater crack. The crack which is present on the weld bead called a crater crack. And also we have some another red penetrant line indication at the side of the weld bead. So this crack is called undercut. Okay, due to the lack of penetration, we might have the crack called undercut. So these are the two major defects that have been presented in our selected welded sample. So the entity inspector, what he will do is, so that he can take the one kind of a report, so that he can examine he will note what are the defects that is observed in the cracks. Okay, so that he can mark it as where the crack is presented. So he have to mention what is the dimension of the crack and what at place or at what location the crack have been presented and what type of cracks that have been present in the welded sample, so that the inspector will be recorded in the report sheet. So it will be given to the priority or official to the entity inspection. So this is what called liquid penetrant testing.